1962. Caribbean Sea, 400 meters below surface. Sonar contact, Captain, but it's not moving. Lieutenant Hayes pressed his headphones tighter against his ears, his face pale in the red emergency lighting. Captain William "Ironhand" Carter stood behind him, his weathered hands gripping the periscope housing. 20 years of submarine command had taught him one thing: nothing stays still at 400 meters. Not naturally. Distance. Carter's voice was steady, but his jaw tightened. 300 yards, sir. Bearing 270. It's... Captain, you need to hear this. Hayes pulled off his headphones and switched to external speakers. The control room fell silent. Through the static came a sound that shouldn't exist. Rhythmic, organic, unmistakable. Human heartbeats. Multiple heartbeats, coming from inside a wreck that had been underwater for 40 years. Carter felt ice crawl up his spine. The Cuban Missile Crisis had the world on edge, and his orders were clear. Patrol this sector, watch for Soviet subs, maintain radio silence. Nobody mentioned ghosts. All stop, he commanded. Rig for silent running. The USS Scorpion drifted in the darkness, her reactor humming quietly. 42 men held their breath. The sonar pinged again. The heartbeats continued, strong, steady, alive. Sir, Hayes whispered, the signature matches German steel. World War II composition. It's a U-boat. Carter's throat went dry. He'd studied every U-boat loss in these waters. U-57, U-214, U-29. All confirmed sunk. All crews dead. All accounted for, except one. Is it U-465? The question escaped before Carter could stop it. Hayes checked his charts, then looked up with wide eyes. How did you know, sir? But Carter couldn't answer. Because U-465 was the submarine that had haunted his dreams for 20 years. The one his father had hunted in 1942. The one that vanished without a trace, taking 63 German sailors into the abyss. The one his father claimed he'd sunk but could never prove. Ready torpedo tubes 1 and 2, Carter ordered, his voice harder now. Sir? Hayes turned. Standing orders are observe and... I gave you an order, Lieutenant. The control room crew exchanged glances. Captain Carter never raised his voice, never showed emotion, but right now his knuckles were white on the railing, and something dark flickered behind his eyes. The weapons officer hesitated, then complied. Tubes 1 and 2 ready, sir. Captain, the radio man suddenly called out. I'm receiving... This can't be right. I'm receiving a transmission. German Morse code. World War II encryption pattern. Carter crossed to the radio station in 3 strides. The message was repeating, over and over. Hilf, gefangen, 40 Jahre, Zeit ist kaputt. Help, trapped, 40 years. Time is broken. They're asking for help, the radio man translated, his hands shaking. They say they've been down here for 40 years, and they say time is... He couldn't finish. Carter grabbed the microphone. His German was rusty but functional. U-465 dies ist USS Scorpion. Identifizieren Sie sich. The response was immediate. A voice, young and desperate, speaking English with a thick accent. American submarine. Thank God. We are Unterseeboot 465 Kapitän Leutnant Friedrich Weber, commanding. We require immediate rescue. Our hull is failing. We have been trapped since 1942. Please, we are running out of air. The control room erupted in whispers. Carter silenced them with a glare. Weber, Carter spoke into the microphone. This is Captain William Carter. Your vessel was reported sunk 20 years ago. Explain your situation. There was a pause. Then, Captain Carter. William Carter. Son of Commander James Carter. Every muscle in Carter's body tensed. How do you know my father's name? Because he is the one who put us here. The voice on the radio changed, became older, harder. Your father torpedoed us on November 14th, 1942. We sank, but we did not die. The depth took us, and the depth remembers everything, Captain Carter, including sins of fathers. The lights in the Scorpion flickered, just for a moment, but in that moment, Carter saw something impossible through the periscope. Lights in the darkness below. Hull lights on a submarine that should have been dead for 20 years. Hayes, Carter's voice was barely a whisper. Take us down. 50 meters. Slow descent. Captain, we're already at test depth. Another 50 meters and... I know what I'm asking, Lieutenant. Do it. The Scorpion's deck tilted downward. The hull groaned as pressure increased. 410 meters. 4 by meters. 430 meters. At 450 meters, they leveled off, and the external lights revealed what sonar had found. U-465 sat on an underwater plateau, her hull intact but covered in 40 years of growth. Her conning tower stood proud, her deck gun pointed at the surface, but impossibly, lights glowed from her portholes, warm, yellow, alive. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. Carter ignored the blasphemy. He was staring at the U-boat's deck, where figures moved. Men in German naval uniforms, young men, healthy men, men who should have been dead or ancient. They were waving. "Sir, I'm detecting atmosphere inside that boat," Hayes reported, his voice cracking. "Breathable air, body heat signatures. Captain, there are 60 people alive inside that wreck." "That's impossible," the diving officer said flatly. "No one can survive 40 years underwater. No food, no..." "Depth and time work differently here," the German voice crackled over the radio. "We learned this. We tried to leave many times. But when we try to rise, we find ourselves back at the bottom. The ocean will not release us. We are prisoners of our own grave." Carter's mind raced. Every instinct screamed this was wrong. A trap, a Soviet trick, a hallucination from carbon dioxide poisoning. But the heartbeats on sonar were real. The faces in those portholes were real. And that voice knew things it shouldn't know. "Carter," the German captain continued, "your father believed he killed us in combat. An honorable death. But his torpedo did not explode. It damaged our ballast tanks. We sank slowly. For hours, conscious, watching the light fade, watching the pressure gauges climb. Do you know what it's like to drown in air, Captain? To be crushed by the ocean itself, degree by degree, while you remain aware." The Scorpion's crew was silent now, listening. Carter felt their eyes on him, judging, waiting. "When we reached this depth," Weber continued, "something changed. The pressure stopped. The flooding stopped. We could breathe, but we could not leave. And outside our hull, we could see things, shapes in the darkness, other submarines, other crews, all trapped, all prisoners of the depth." "You're lying," Carter said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Am I? Look at your sonar, Captain. Look beyond us. What do you see?" Hayes adjusted the sonar range. His face went white. "Sir, there are dozens of contacts, maybe hundreds, all around us, all showing life signs." But Carter was already looking at something else, something that made his blood freeze. Through the periscope, he could see the U-boat's conning tower clearly now, and painted on its side, barely visible under the marine growth, were marks. Tally marks. Thousands of them, scratched into the metal by hand. "Those are days," Weber said quietly. "We counted them. 14,608 days. 40 years. We have lived every single one. Aged not at all. Remembered everything, and waited. Waited for someone to find us. Waited for someone to understand." Carter's executive officer, Commander Morrison, stepped forward. "Captain, recommend we surface immediately. Report this to command. Let them send a research team." "A research team?" Weber's laugh was bitter. "This is not a research opportunity, Commander. This is a prison, and your captain holds the key." "What are you talking about?" Carter demanded. "The depth remembers sins, Captain. Your father put us here. Only his blood can release us. Only you." The Scorpion shuddered, just slightly, but enough to make every man grab for support. "What was that?" Morrison's voice was sharp with fear. "Hull stress, sir," the diving officer reported. "But it's not external pressure. It's like something's pulling us down." The depth gauge needle moved. 455 meters, 460 meters, 470 meters. "Emergency blow! Surface, now!" Morrison shouted. The ballast tanks fired. High-pressure air rushed into them, but the Scorpion continued to sink. 480 meters, 490 meters, 500 meters. The hull began to groan. Rivets popped. Men grabbed their stations, eyes wide with terror. The depth wants payment, Carter. Weber's voice was calm now, almost peaceful. You can give it willingly, or it will take your entire crew. Your choice, your father's sin, your redemption. Carter looked at his men. Young faces, terrified faces, faces that trusted him to bring them home. Then he looked at the depth gauge, 520 meters. Critical, hull failure imminent. How? Carter asked simply. Open your forward hatch. Swim to us. The ocean will take you and release us. A life for 63 lives. Mathematics even you can appreciate, Captain. Morrison grabbed Carter's arm. Sir, you can't be considering— I'm not, Carter said firmly. Then he keyed the microphone. Weber, I have a counter-offer. You release my ship. I'll stay here with you, learn your secret, understand this place, but my crew goes home. Silence on the radio. The Scorpion continued to sink. 540 meters. 550 meters. The pressure hull began to buckle. Men were praying now. Carter heard them, didn't blame them. Why would you do this? Weber asked, genuine confusion in his voice. You could try to fight, try to escape. Because my father's sin isn't mine to bear, Carter said clearly. But my crew's lives are mine to protect. That's what command means. You were a U-boat captain, you understand. A long pause, then, I understand, Captain Carter. I understand better than you know. The sinking stopped, just like that. The Scorpion hung at 565 meters, her hull screaming but holding. The depth gauge needle froze. You have passed the test, Weber said, and his voice sounded different now. Lighter, younger. Your father failed it. When we asked him for mercy in our final moments, when we radioed for rescue, he silenced his radio and sailed away. He chose his mission over humanity, but you chose humanity over yourself. The lights on the U-boat began to fade. Wait, Carter pressed against the periscope. What's happening? We are released, Captain. Not by blood, but by proof that honor still exists, that some men still choose sacrifice over survival. Through the periscope, Carter watched the impossible. The U-boat was rising, not by ballast, but by something else. Something that lifted her gently, carefully, as if the ocean itself was cradling her. And as she rose, Carter saw the men on her deck, not waving now, saluting. You freed us, Captain Carter. Weber's voice was fading, breaking up with static. Not from the depth, from the test. We were never trapped. We were waiting for someone worthy, someone who understood that command means sacrifice. But the life signs, Hayes whispered, the heartbeats, they were real. They were echoes, Weber said. Echoes of choices? Your sonar detected not our hearts, but yours. The depth shows you what you fear most. For some, it's death. For others, it's failure. For your father, it was mercy. He heard our dying and chose to let us die. That choice haunted him. Didn't it, Captain? Carter's hands trembled. His father had never spoken about the war, never mentioned U-boats, never explained why he drank himself to death in 1955. He knew, Carter whispered. He knew you asked for help. And he chose mission protocol over humanity, Weber confirmed. That choice trapped him, not us. We died honorably in combat, but he lived knowing he could have saved us and didn't. That knowledge was his depth, his prison. The U-boat was almost at the surface now. You chose differently, Captain. The ocean respects that. Your crew will reach home safely, but remember this. Command is not about following orders. It's about knowing when to break them for the right reasons. Your father forgot that. Don't make his mistake. The radio went silent. The sonar contacts vanished. All of them. Hundreds of submarines, gone in an instant. The Scorpion floated alone in the dark. Sir, Hayes's voice was small. What just happened? Carter straightened his uniform, took a breath, became the captain his crew needed. We encountered an anomaly, Lieutenant. Thermal layers playing tricks with sonar, equipment malfunction, nothing more. But sir, we all heard— Nothing more, Lieutenant. Understood. Hayes met his captain's eyes, saw something there that made him nod. Understood, sir. Emergency surface procedures. I want us topside in 10 minutes. And Hayes? Yes, sir. Good work. You kept your head when it mattered. The Scorpion rose slowly, her hull groaning but intact. As they approached the surface, Morrison appeared at Carter's side. That was real, he said quietly. Whatever just happened, it was real. Yes, Carter admitted. Does it go in the report? Carter looked at his executive officer, saw a man he trusted, a man who would follow him into hell and back, or... No, Carter said finally. Some things the Navy isn't ready to understand, but Morrison, if I ever give an order that puts mission over people, I want you to relieve me of command, immediately. Understood? Morrison studied his captain for a long moment, then nodded. Understood, sir. The Scorpion broke surface into Caribbean sunlight. Her hull was undamaged. Her crew was safe. The sonar showed empty ocean for miles, as if nothing had ever been there at all. Carter stood on the bridge, breathing fresh air, feeling sunlight on his face. He thought about his father, about choices, about the weight of command, about the difference between following orders and doing what's right. Somewhere beneath the waves, 63 German sailors had finally found peace. Not because someone destroyed them, but because someone proved that honor still existed, that sacrifice still mattered, that some things were worth breaking orders for. The depth had tested him, and he had passed. But Carter knew the truth. The ocean never forgets. And somewhere in the dark places of the world, other tests waited. Other captains would face their choices, and the depth would remember. It always remembers. 3 weeks later, back at port, Carter received a package. No return address. Inside was a photograph from 1942. A U-boat crew standing proud on their deck. Young men, German sailors. And on the back, written in faded ink, Danke, Captain Carter. For proving honor transcends uniform. Kapitän Leutnant Friedrich Weber, U-465. Carter burned the photograph that night. But he kept the ashes. Some memories, some lessons, some prices paid were worth preserving. The ocean had taught him that. His father had forgotten it. He never would.